The sound echoed through the marble lobby before anyone had time to react. A crystal coffee mug shattered across the polished floor. Coffee splashed over expensive shoes, a designer handbag, and the front of a tailored navy blue suit. For a moment, the entire building fell silent. Every employee turned toward the entrance. A young woman stood frozen, her hands trembling. I'm so sorry," she whispered. Standing in front of her was the building's quiet security guard. His dark uniform was soaked with coffee. Broken glass rested around his boots. He looked down for a second, then simply smiled. "It's okay," he said softly. "No one got hurt." The woman blinked. She had expected anger. Instead, he bent down and began picking up the broken glass himself. Not one person offered to help him. Instead, several people laughed. One man shook his head. "That's why they're security guards." Another added with a grin, "At least he's used to cleaning messes." The woman looked away, embarrassed. She didn't notice the small black luxury car parked across the street. Inside it sat an elderly gentleman wearing a gray suit. He had witnessed everything. He watched the quiet guard carefully. Then he smiled to himself. "Just as I expected." But no one inside the building knew why those words mattered. Not yet. Every morning, before the sun reached the tops of the city buildings, Ethan Brooks unlocked the front doors of Kingston Global headquarters. He arrived at exactly 5:30. Always. Rain, snow, heat, it didn't matter. He greeted the cleaning crew by name. He helped delivery drivers unload heavy boxes. He even watered the small plants near the entrance whenever the maintenance team forgot. Most employees barely noticed him. To them, he was simply the security guy, nothing more. Ethan never corrected anyone. He never asked for attention. He preferred silence. Sometimes silence revealed more about people than conversation ever could. The young woman from the coffee accident was named Olivia Carter. She had joined Kingston Global only 3 weeks earlier. At 28, she had already earned a reputation as one of the company's brightest marketing strategists. She worked harder than almost everyone else. Late nights, weekend projects, endless presentations. Her dream was simple: become the youngest department director in company history. She believed success came from determination and appearances, especially appearances. She had grown up watching her mother struggle after her father left. Money had always been uncertain. Her mother often said the same thing: "People judge you before they hear your story." Olivia never forgot those words. She dressed perfectly. She spoke confidently. She avoided anything that might damage her professional image, including becoming close to people she believed could not help her future. It wasn't cruelty. At least, that's what she told herself. Later that afternoon, Olivia entered the lobby, carrying several presentation boards. One slipped from her arms. Before it hit the floor, someone caught it. "Ethan, you dropped this." She forced a polite smile. "Thanks. You've been working late." She looked surprised. "You noticed? You've left after midnight 3 nights this week." She laughed awkwardly. "I guess security notices everything." He smiled. "It's part of the job." She nodded quickly. "Well, thanks again." Then she hurried toward the elevator. As the doors closed, she quietly whispered to herself, "Nice guy." Then, after a pause, "But he's just the security guard." She didn't realize someone standing beside her had heard every word. Her coworker, Rachel. Rachel raised an eyebrow. "You know, he seems nicer than most executives here." Olivia shrugged. Being nice doesn't build a career. Rachel didn't answer. She simply stared at the closing elevator doors. Something about Olivia's words didn't feel right. The next morning, Ethan found a frightened little boy standing outside the building. He couldn't have been older than 8. Tears filled his eyes. "I can't find my mom." Without hesitation, Ethan knelt to the child's level. "What's your name? Ben? Okay, Ben." He smiled warmly. "We're going to find her together." For nearly 20 minutes, Ethan stayed beside the boy. He bought him hot chocolate. He told silly jokes. Slowly, Ben stopped crying. Finally, a woman rushed across the plaza. "There you are." She hugged her son so tightly he could barely breathe. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "I turned around for 1 second." She looked at Ethan with grateful eyes. "Thank you." He simply nodded. "I'm glad he's safe." From the 20th floor, Olivia watched the entire scene through the office window. For the first time, she wondered who Ethan really was. The company cafeteria was divided without anyone admitting it. Executives gathered near the windows. Managers occupied the center tables. Junior employees sat together near the back. Support staff usually ate separately. No rule required it. People simply followed invisible lines. Ethan usually brought homemade sandwiches. He always sat alone, not because he wanted to, because no one invited him. One afternoon, Rachel carried her tray toward him. "Mind if I sit here?" He smiled. "Of course." They talked about books, travel, music, nothing about work. Rachel laughed more during that lunch than she had all week. Across the room, Olivia noticed. She frowned. "You actually eat with security?" Rachel looked confused. "He's interesting." Olivia shook her head. "You should network with management instead." Rachel smiled gently. "Maybe kindness is better networking." Olivia rolled her eyes. "You'll never become vice president thinking like that." Rachel didn't argue, but Ethan quietly looked down at his sandwich. His expression never changed. Still, something in his eyes grew distant. That evening, the headquarters slowly emptied. Lights turned off floor by floor. Cleaning machines hummed through silent hallways. At exactly 9 o'clock, a sleek black sedan stopped behind the building. The driver stepped out immediately. He opened the rear door. An elderly man emerged. Every security camera automatically switched to private mode. Only one person had authorization for that. "Ethan." He walked outside. The elderly man smiled. "I heard about today's lunch." Ethan chuckled softly. "News travels fast." "It always does." The older man studied him carefully. "You could end this little experiment tomorrow, I know. So why continue?" Ethan looked toward the glowing company logo high above the building. "Because people deserve the chance to show who they really are before they know who I am." The elderly man nodded with quiet pride. "I hoped you'd say that." Then he handed Ethan a simple envelope. "The board meeting is next month." Ethan accepted it without opening it. "Thank you." The sedan disappeared into the night. No employee saw the meeting. No employee knew who the elderly man truly was, and certainly no one guessed why every member of the company's board answered to Ethan Brooks. Meanwhile, Olivia's career was moving faster than ever. Her latest marketing proposal impressed senior management. Rumors spread through the office. She might receive a major promotion before the end of the quarter. Everyone congratulated her. Everyone except Daniel Cross. Daniel was one of the company's senior directors, charming on the surface, calculating underneath. He smiled often, but every smile seemed carefully measured. As he watched Olivia receive praise, his expression remained calm. Too calm. "She's becoming popular," one manager whispered. Daniel nodded. "Popularity is temporary." "What do you mean?" He smiled. "Everyone makes mistakes." His eyes drifted toward the lobby below, toward Ethan, toward the quiet man opening the door for visitors. Daniel's smile became even thinner. He didn't know Ethan's secret, but something about him had always made Daniel uncomfortable. He couldn't explain why. He simply trusted his instincts, and his instincts told him the quiet security guard would become a problem. That same night, Ethan walked home instead of taking a car. He preferred the fresh air. The city lights reflected in puddles left behind by a light rain. Most people who passed him never looked twice. Just another security guard finishing his shift, exactly as he wanted. He reached a modest brick townhouse. No mansion, no luxury estate. Inside, the rooms were simple, clean, comfortable. One framed photograph rested on the fireplace. It showed Ethan standing beside an older couple. All three were smiling. He gently picked up the frame. "I hope I'm doing this the right way," he whispered. Silence answered him, but somehow, it felt like someone had heard. Outside, clouds slowly covered the moon, and across the city, events had already begun moving toward a future none of them could yet imagine. The quiet security guard had entered everyone's life, but before long they would learn that first impressions can hide extraordinary truths, and for Olivia Carter, that lesson would come at a price she never expected.
Morning arrived with clear skies, but inside Kingston Global, the atmosphere felt different. News of the upcoming executive board review spread through every department. Employees whispered in elevators, managers held closed-door meetings. Everyone wanted to impress the people at the top. No one noticed Ethan quietly unlocking the front doors, just as he did every morning. He greeted the cleaning crew. He wished the receptionist a happy birthday before anyone else remembered. He picked up a folder someone had accidentally dropped outside. To everyone else, it was another ordinary day. But for Ethan, every small moment mattered. He believed a person's true character showed itself when no one important was watching. Little did everyone know, he was watching more closely than anyone imagined. Olivia had barely slept. She had spent half the night polishing a presentation that could change her career. When she stepped into the lobby, she was carrying a laptop, a notebook, and 2 cups of coffee. One cup slipped before it could fall. Ethan caught it with one hand. "You've had a busy week," he said with a smile. She let out a relieved laugh. "I guess it shows. You should remember to rest." She smiled politely. "I'll rest after the promotion." Ethan nodded. "I hope you get what you're looking for." She thanked him and hurried toward the elevator. As the doors closed, she looked back for just a second. He was already helping an elderly visitor find the right office, always helping someone, always smiling. For reasons she couldn't explain, she found herself wondering about him again, but she quickly pushed the thought aside. She had bigger goals, or so she believed. During lunch, Rachel found Olivia sitting alone. "You've been quiet today. I've just been thinking." "About the promotion?" Olivia nodded. "And about Ethan." Rachel smiled. "I knew it." Olivia rolled her eyes. "Not like that," Rachel laughed. "I didn't say anything." Olivia sighed. "He's different, in a good way?" "I don't know." Rachel stirred her drink. "Have you ever actually had a real conversation with him?" "No." "Then maybe you don't know him at all." Olivia didn't answer. Because deep down, Rachel was right. That afternoon, a delivery driver rushed into the lobby, carrying several heavy boxes. One stack tipped over. Files scattered everywhere. People walked around them without stopping. Some pretended not to notice. Others simply checked their phones. Ethan immediately knelt to help. A few seconds later, Olivia surprised herself. She put down her bag and joined him. "Here." She picked up several folders. The driver smiled gratefully. "Thank you." Within moments, everything was organized again. As the driver left, Ethan looked at Olivia. "You didn't have to help," she shrugged. It felt wrong not to. For the first time, Ethan saw something softer behind her confident smile. Maybe she wasn't exactly who everyone believed she was, but neither of them realized someone had been watching from the second floor. Daniel Cross. His expression hardened. He didn't like unexpected changes, especially ones he couldn't control, and something about Olivia talking to the security guard bothered him far more than it should have. Later that week, the company organized a charity event. Employees volunteered to renovate a local youth center. Most people signed up because it looked good on their employee records. Ethan signed up because he genuinely wanted to help. Saturday morning arrived. Everyone wore matching company shirts. Paint buckets covered the floor. Children laughed outside. Within an hour, Ethan had fixed broken shelves, repaired loose doors, and even built a small wooden reading bench for the kids. One little girl hugged him. "Thank you, mister," he smiled. "I think you deserve a nice place to read." Olivia watched from across the room. She had expected him to stand near the entrance and supervise. Instead, he worked harder than anyone else, even harder than senior managers. Rachel walked beside Olivia. "Still think he's just a security guard?" Olivia didn't answer immediately. "No." Rachel smiled. "I didn't think so, but that wasn't the biggest surprise." Near lunchtime, one of the volunteers accidentally stepped on wet paint. Bright blue footprints stretched across the freshly cleaned hallway. Everyone groaned. The employee looked horrified. "I'm so sorry," before anyone could complain. Ethan burst into laughter. "It looks like modern art." Several children started laughing too. Within seconds, the entire room was smiling. Even Olivia laughed. The tension disappeared. For the first time in weeks, work wasn't the only thing on her mind. She watched Ethan joking with the children. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He simply enjoyed making people happy. It was strangely refreshing. As the event ended, heavy rain began pouring outside. Employees rushed toward their cars. Olivia searched through her purse. "My umbrella!" She frowned. "I left it upstairs." Without saying a word, Ethan held out his own. "You take this." "What about you?" "I don't mind the rain. I can't take your umbrella. You can return it Monday." She hesitated, then accepted it. "Thank you." He smiled. "Have a safe drive." She looked back several times while walking away. Ethan stood in the rain, calmly locking the youth center doors. completely soaked, yet still smiling. Something inside her shifted, very slightly, very quietly. Monday morning, Olivia returned the umbrella. "I washed it." "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." There was an awkward silence. Finally she asked, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why are you always helping everyone?" Ethan thought for a moment. "My father used to tell me something." "What?" "He said kindness costs less than regret." Olivia repeated the words silently. Kindness costs less than regret. She couldn't explain why, but the sentence stayed with her long after she walked away. Meanwhile, Daniel had problems of his own. Several contracts were under investigation. Numbers weren't matching. Expenses looked unusually high. Only Daniel knew why. He had been quietly moving company money through fake consulting firms for years. Small amounts, carefully hidden. No one had discovered the truth, or so he believed. One evening he entered the underground parking garage. His assistant hurried toward him. "We have another issue." "What now?" "The security logs." Daniel stopped walking. "What about them?" "Someone requested archived footage from 6 months ago." "Who?" "We couldn't see. It came through executive authorization." Daniel's face lost its color. Executive authorization. Very few people possessed that level of access. Whoever it was could become extremely dangerous. At the same time, Ethan sat quietly inside a small office few employees even knew existed. He wasn't wearing his security cap anymore. A large monitor displayed financial reports, property records, internal audit files. An older woman entered carrying tea. She smiled warmly. "You've been here for hours. I'm almost finished. Do you think Daniel suspects anything?" "A little." "And Olivia?" Ethan looked toward the lobby cameras. "No." "Is that good?" "I don't know anymore." The woman smiled knowingly. "You like her?" Ethan laughed softly. "I respect her." "That's not what I asked." He didn't answer. Sometimes silence answered better than words. Days passed. Olivia and Ethan began talking more often. Nothing dramatic, just little conversations. About books, favorite meals, childhood memories. One afternoon she discovered he loved classical music. Another day she learned he volunteered every Sunday at an animal shelter. None of it fit the picture she had created in her mind. One evening she asked, "Don't you ever get tired of people overlooking you?" He smiled. "You learn a lot when people think you don't matter." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "People show their real selves around someone they believe is invisible." She thought about that all night. A week later, Kingston Global hosted an elegant networking dinner. Employees dressed in expensive suits and evening gowns. Olivia spent hours preparing. Rachel teased her. "You look nervous." "I just want tonight to go well." "It will." As they entered the ballroom, Olivia noticed Ethan near the entrance in a security uniform. He opened the doors for every guest. Several executives walked past him without making eye contact. One actually handed him an empty glass without saying a word. Ethan accepted it politely. Olivia felt uncomfortable. For the first time, she noticed how casually people dismissed him. She almost walked over to say hello, but several senior executives approached her instead. She hesitated, then turned toward the executives. From across the room, Ethan noticed. His expression never changed. Still, something quietly settled inside his heart. Not disappointment, understanding. Old habits are difficult to break. The evening continued with speeches and applause. Then the chairman made an announcement. In 1 month, Kingston Global will welcome a very special guest. The room became silent. Our majority owner will personally attend this year's Founders Gala. Employees exchanged surprised looks. Very few had ever seen the company's mysterious owner. Rumors filled the room instantly. Maybe it's an old billionaire. I heard he lives overseas. They say no one even knows his face. Olivia smiled with curiosity. I wonder what he's really like. Across the ballroom, Ethan quietly looked at the stage, then lowered his eyes. No one noticed. No one could have imagined. The man standing quietly beside the exit, wearing an ordinary security uniform, was the very person everyone was talking about, and the night of the Founders Gala was drawing closer with every passing day. What happened there would change every life inside Kingston Global, forever. Monday morning arrived, with an unusual tension hanging over Kingston Global. The Founders Gala was only 2 weeks away. Employees spoke about little else. Some wondered what the mysterious owner looked like. Others guessed he was an elderly billionaire who rarely left his private estate. A few claimed he didn't even exist, that the company was secretly controlled by a group of investors. Ethan listened to every rumor as he stood at the front entrance, greeting employees with his usual warm smile. "Good morning, morning Ethan, have a great day." No one noticed the irony. The man everyone was trying to imagine was standing right in front of them. Olivia had changed, not all at once, not dramatically, but in quiet ways. She no longer rushed past Ethan without speaking. Some mornings they shared coffee before employees arrived. Other days they simply talked for a few minutes. One morning she handed him a paper bag. "I brought an extra breakfast sandwich. You didn't have to." "I know," he smiled. "Thank you." She smiled back. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. But somehow, it became the best part of her morning. Rachel noticed immediately. "You like talking to him." Olivia laughed nervously. "He's easy to talk to." Rachel folded her arms. "That's not what I said." Olivia looked away. "I don't even know anything about his life. Then ask. It feels personal." Rachel smiled. "Sometimes the best people have the quietest stories." Those words stayed with Olivia. Later that afternoon, a sudden power outage darkened several floors of the building. Emergency lights flickered on. Employees panicked. Computers shut down. Elevators stopped between floors. Within seconds, Ethan was moving through the building with calm confidence. He spoke clearly. "Everyone stay where you are. No running. We'll have power shortly." His steady voice settled frightened employees. Meanwhile, maintenance crews searched for the problem. Nearly 40 minutes later, electricity returned. People applauded. One manager laughed. "I thought we'd be stuck here all day." Another employee pointed toward Ethan. "He handled that better than most executives." Olivia quietly agreed. Leadership wasn't always about titles. Sometimes, it was simply about making people feel safe. That evening, Olivia stayed late, preparing another presentation. The office was nearly empty. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. As she organized paperwork, she heard quiet piano music coming from the auditorium downstairs. Curious, she followed the sound. She slowly opened the door. The stage lights were off. Only one spotlight remained. Sitting alone at the grand piano was Ethan. His fingers moved gently across the keys. The music filled the room with quiet emotion. It wasn't flashy. It was beautiful, heartfelt. He didn't notice she was there. When the final note faded, Olivia softly clapped. Ethan turned quickly. "I didn't know anyone was here. I didn't know you could play. My mother taught me." "You're incredible." He smiled shyly. "I haven't played in a long time." She walked onto the stage. "I've never heard anyone play like that." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Silence somehow said enough. "What made you stop playing?" Olivia finally asked. Ethan looked down at the piano keys. "My parents." "What about them?" "They loved music." His smile faded slightly. "I lost them several years ago. I'm sorry." "So am I." Another silence followed. This one felt heavier. Olivia gently placed her hand over his. "You don't have to talk about it." He looked at her with grateful eyes. "Thank you." It was the first time anyone at Kingston Global had asked about his life. Across the building, Daniel watched security footage inside his office. He rewound the video several times. There they were. Olivia, Ethan, talking, laughing. Daniel narrowed his eyes. This is becoming a problem. His assistant entered. The finance committee wants updated reports. I'll handle it. And the audit? Daniel stood. Cancel it. We can't. You'll find a way. The assistant hesitated. They're asking questions. Daniel's face hardened. Then give them answers. What if they ask the wrong questions? Daniel didn't reply. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't completely in control. The following Friday, Kingston Global announced its annual leadership award. Employees could nominate anyone in the company. Managers expected executives to dominate the voting. Instead, again and again, Ethan Brooks, receptionists nominated him. Janitors nominated him. Engineers, interns, even cafeteria staff. One note simply read, "He treats every person with respect." Another said, "He remembers everyone's name." Another, "He made my first day less scary." Olivia read every nomination. Her eyes slowly filled with tears. She realized something painful. Hundreds of people had experienced Ethan's kindness, yet she had once reduced him to only one thing. The security guard. The memory embarrassed her. She wished she could take those words back. That evening, she found Ethan locking the front entrance. "Can we walk?" he smiled. "Sure." They wandered through a nearby city park. Children played beside the fountain. Street musicians performed softly. For once, neither of them was thinking about work. "What was your dream growing up?" Ethan asked. Olivia laughed. "I wanted to become successful." "What does successful mean?" she thought carefully. "I used to think it meant having money. And now?" She looked at him. "I think it means becoming someone people trust." He smiled. "I like that answer." She looked at him for several seconds, then quietly asked, "What was your dream?" Ethan looked toward the sunset. "To protect what my parents built." She frowned slightly. "What did they build?" He smiled. "One day, I'll tell you." By the following week, Daniel's problems had become serious. The internal auditors refused to close their investigation. Someone had anonymously submitted financial records exposing suspicious transfers. Millions of dollars were unaccounted for. Daniel slammed his office door. "Who leaked this?" His assistant shook his head. "We don't know." Daniel stared out the window toward the lobby. Toward Ethan. For reasons he couldn't explain, his instincts returned. Somehow, the quiet security guard seemed connected. It sounded impossible, but Daniel no longer believed in coincidences. Meanwhile, preparations for the Founders Gala continued. Luxury decorations filled the ballroom. Television crews confirmed attendance. Business leaders from around the country accepted invitations. Employees practiced introductions. Everyone wanted to impress the mysterious owner. Olivia even joked with Ethan. "I wonder if he'll be nice. I'm sure he values honesty. You sound confident. I've heard good things." She laughed. "I wish I knew someone who knew him." Ethan smiled. "You might." She laughed again, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. 2 days before the gala, Olivia received shocking news. She had been officially promoted to senior marketing director. Her coworkers applauded. Rachel hugged her tightly. "You did it! I can't believe it!" That afternoon, Olivia searched the lobby. When she found Ethan, she was almost out of breath. "I got promoted, I heard." "You knew? The whole building knows." She laughed. "I wanted you to hear it from me." He smiled with genuine happiness. "I'm proud of you." She looked into his eyes. Those simple words meant more than the formal congratulations from any executive. Without thinking, she hugged him. It lasted only a second, but it caught someone's attention. Daniel. His expression turned cold. Very cold. Because in his mind, the security guard was no longer harmless. He had become an obstacle, and Daniel had spent his entire career removing obstacles. Late that night, Daniel made a phone call from his private office. "I need a favor." The voice on the other end answered. "What kind of favor?" "I need someone fired." That's easy. No. Daniel looked toward the security office. I needed to look like he deserved it. There was a long silence. Finally, the voice replied, "It'll cost you." Daniel didn't hesitate. Done. He ended the call. A slow smile crossed his face. He believed he had won. He had no idea. The man he was trying to destroy had already uncovered every secret he had spent years hiding. The final chapter of this story was about to begin. And when the truth finally came into the light, nothing inside Kingston Global would ever be the same again. The morning of the Founders Gala arrived with a feeling unlike any other. The lobby of Kingston Global had been transformed overnight. Fresh flowers lined the entrance. Crystal chandeliers reflected across the polished marble floor. Employees walked a little straighter. Managers checked every detail twice. Everyone wanted the evening to be perfect. No one wanted to make a mistake in front of the company's mysterious owner. Ethan arrived at 5:30, just as he always did. He unlocked the front doors. He greeted the cleaning crew. He helped a florist carry heavy arrangements inside. To everyone watching, it was another ordinary shift for the quiet security guard. Only one person noticed something different: Olivia. As she approached him, she smiled. "You look calmer than everyone else." Ethan chuckled. "I've learned that worrying rarely improves the day." She laughed. "I wish I could think like that." "You will." She looked at him curiously. "How do you know?" He paused. "Because you're already changing." His words stayed with her long after she stepped into the elevator. Upstairs, Daniel Cross was fighting a battle no one could see. The internal audit report had been finalized. He knew it. Someone had gathered every document, every hidden payment, every fake invoice, every secret transfer. His phone rang. "The board wants to meet with you after tonight's gala." Daniel forced a smile. Of course. When the call ended, he looked out his office window. His eyes settled on Ethan below. "If I'm going down," he whispered, "you're coming with me." That afternoon, Olivia found Ethan outside the building feeding small birds near a park bench. "You really do this every day?" He smiled. "They're good company." She sat beside him. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The city buzzed around them. Cars passed. Children laughed nearby. Finally, Olivia broke the silence. "Can I ask you something?" "You can ask. Why did you become a security guard?" Ethan looked toward the skyline. "Because I wanted to understand people." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "People act differently around someone they think has no power." She nodded slowly. "I guess that's true. They reveal who they really are." She smiled. "And what have you learned about me?" He looked at her kindly. "That your heart was always good." She lowered her eyes. "I wasn't always kind. No. I judged you. You did. I'm ashamed of that." Ethan smiled gently. "The person who said those words isn't the person sitting beside me today." For the first time in years, Olivia felt completely understood. As evening arrived, the gala began. Luxury cars filled the driveway. Business leaders stepped onto the red carpet. Photographers flashed endless cameras. Inside, a string quartet played softly. Employees admired the decorations. Rachel found Olivia near the ballroom entrance. "Nervous?" "A little." "You'll be fine." "What about the owner?" Rachel laughed. "I'm just hoping he isn't terrifying." Across the room, Ethan stood beside the entrance in his security uniform, welcoming guests one by one. Many executives walked past him without a second glance. Old habits were hard to break. An hour later, the chairman walked onto the stage. He adjusted the microphone. The room became silent. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us." Applause filled the ballroom. This company was built on integrity, compassion, and responsibility. Another round of applause followed. Tonight, it is my honor to introduce the person who has quietly protected those values for many years. Everyone leaned forward. The majority owner of Kingston Global. He smiled toward the ballroom doors. Mr. Ethan Brooks." For a heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then hundreds of eyes turned toward the entrance, toward the quiet security guard. Several people laughed nervously. They thought it was a joke. Ethan calmly removed his security badge. He handed it to another guard. Then he walked toward the stage. Every step echoed through the silent ballroom. Olivia stood frozen. Her heart pounded. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." Rachel covered her mouth. Daniel's face turned completely pale. The chairman welcomed Ethan with a warm handshake. The audience remained speechless. Ethan stood before the microphone. He looked across the crowd. His expression remained calm. "My parents founded Kingston Global with one simple belief." He paused. "Every person deserves dignity." The room was silent. "After they passed away, I inherited the company." A wave of whispers spread through the ballroom. "I could have taken the corner office," he smiled, "but I chose something different." He glanced toward the employees. "I wanted to see this company through the eyes of the people who are often overlooked." No one moved. "I wore this uniform because respect should never depend on a job title." His words settled heavily across the room. "I wasn't testing perfection. I was simply watching how people treated another human being." Many employees lowered their heads. They remembered moments they wished they could undo. Ethan continued. "I also discovered extraordinary kindness." He thanked the maintenance staff, the receptionists, the cafeteria workers, the cleaning crew. He spoke each person's name from memory. Many of them began to cry. Then he looked toward Rachel. "Thank you for treating me like a friend before you knew who I was." The audience applauded warmly. Rachel wiped away tears. Finally, his eyes found Olivia. She felt her heart sink. "I also want to thank someone who reminds us that people can grow." Olivia looked down. She expected criticism. Instead, Ethan smiled. "Real character isn't about never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to become better." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She remembered every careless assumption she had made. She wished she could erase them. But she couldn't. All she could do was become someone better than she had been yesterday. Then Ethan's expression grew serious. "There is one more matter." The ballroom became silent again. A large screen behind the stage lit up. Financial records appeared. Bank transfers, contracts, invoices. The chairman spoke firmly. "Our independent investigation uncovered years of fraud." Daniel slowly stepped backward. Security officers approached him. The evidence was overwhelming. The chairman continued. "The person responsible is Senior Director Daniel Cross." Gasps filled the room. Daniel shook his head. "This is a mistake." Ethan looked directly at him. "No, it isn't." Daniel tried to protest. But every document told the same story. The authorities, already waiting nearby, entered the ballroom. Daniel's shoulders dropped. For years he had believed no one would discover the truth. Tonight, the truth had found him. As he was escorted from the room, no one applauded. They simply watched in silence. Justice didn't need celebration. It only needed honesty. After the ceremony, the ballroom slowly emptied. Employees gathered around Ethan. Many apologized. Others thanked him. He greeted each person with the same warmth he had shown every morning at the front door. Later that night, Olivia found him standing alone on the rooftop terrace overlooking the city. "I wasn't sure you'd want to see me," he smiled. "I was hoping you would." She took a deep breath. "I owe you more than an apology." "You don't owe me anything. I judged you before I knew you." "You did. I thought status mattered." She laughed softly through her tears. "And the whole time, the richest man in the room was opening doors for everyone else." Ethan smiled. "The richest people aren't measured by money. They're measured by what they give away." She nodded. "I finally understand." There was a long silence. Then Olivia looked at him. "I don't care that you own this company. I care about the man who stood in the rain so I could stay dry. The man who remembered everyone's name. The man who never stopped being kind." She smiled through her tears. "I think," Somewhere along the way, I fell in love with him. Ethan looked at her for a moment before answering, I've admired you for a long time, not because you became perfect, but because you chose to grow. He gently took her hand. The city lights shimmered below them. In the weeks that followed, Kingston Global began to change. Departments no longer separated themselves in the cafeteria. Executives learned the names of janitors and receptionists. Employee recognition expanded to include every role in the company. Respect became part of the culture, not just a word in the handbook. Olivia led new mentorship programs for young employees. Rachel was promoted for her leadership and compassion. Ethan spent less time at the front entrance, but every so often he returned to greet employees himself, not because he had to, because he enjoyed it. One morning, a new intern walked through the lobby. Seeing the friendly man by the door, she smiled. "Good morning." "Good morning," Ethan replied. "First day?" She nodded nervously. "I'm scared." He smiled warmly. "You'll do just fine." And with those simple words, he made another person feel welcome, just as he always had. Because titles may earn respect from some people, but kindness earns respect from everyone.